Welcome back. 2 hours ago, a gunman opened fire and shot at the White House. So let's go ahead and watch the video. Let's get into it.
Gunmen allegedly fired at least 3 shots towards the White House. The U.S. Secret Service says they returned fire, killing him. A bystander was also struck in the exchange. The gunman never got inside the perimeter of the White House. The FBI is investigating, and all eyes also are on the Middle East, as President Trump says a deal to end the war with Iran has been largely negotiated. He says final details are still being worked out between the U.S., Iran, and other countries. More details are expected soon. The agreement reportedly would reopen the Strait of Hormuz, ease restrictions on Iranian ports and assets. It would also begin at least a 30-day period for further talks on Iran's nuclear program, including the future of its enriched uranium stockpile. Stay with Fox News.
Let's make sure we put prayers for President Trump in the comment section, please, because it seems like stuff like this is not going to stop. So let's go ahead and get straight into this. Y'all can see right here say breaking. A gunman fired at the White House multiple times with a firearm, causing U.S. Secret Service to return fire. The gunman has been taken down after being shot. Fox reports yet another gunman tried to get at President Trump. Here we go again with these insane, stupid, lunatic people, man. And you can see right here, this is where the police was pretty much rushing. Then if you see this right here, say breaking, a new video shows the moment gunfire broke out near the White House, sending reporters into a panic. Secret Service acted very quickly. God bless them. No word from the White House on President Trump, as he was home at the time, but he's inside out of danger.
Support on Capitol Hill.
See, you can hear the gunshot right there coming from the White House, and you can see the reporter getting down. This is crazy. This stuff has to stop. And you can see the Secret Service pretty much coming out, pretty much telling the reporters to get inside. I'm just so sick of this stuff right here. Here go another one right here. She was outside the White House, breaking, shots fired just outside the White House. Multiple reporters are saying they heard 30 shots. Press has been rushed into the press briefing room by Secret Service. White House is now on lockdown. Counter snipers on rooftop. Pray for President Trump. You see she got down. This is insane. Freaking insane. Say breaking, gunshots heard outside the White House. NBC and ABC report. Reportedly dozens, say 20 to 30 shots. Come as 47. Pretty much President Trump is trying to zero in on an Iran den, and all of a sudden, here go a shooter shooting inside the White House. Pray for President Trump and pray for the Secret Service. Say just then, the shooter did not breach the White House perimeter, got a few shots out, then the Secret Service unleashed fire and fury to take them down. So if he say them, it must have been more than one then. I thought they said it was one shooter, but they're saying it, I guess they're saying it's 2. That would mean the rapid succession of shots where authorities stringing into action. Good, they're trying to do exactly this. This suspect was taken down pretty quickly, reported by Fox News. Sadly, another civilian was struck. This is crazy.
From the shooter, and we're assuming the rest of those shots came from Secret Service. In your experience, how many guns are right there available? If a shooter opens fire at the White House, is there many guns that are able to be trained on them?
Absolutely. I mean, you have snipers, you have people all over the place. This is one of the most heavily fortified facilities in the United States. Again, I cover Congress. I walk into the Capitol every day, and I probably pass anywhere just on a routine day 10 to 15 officers, and they're all armed, and these aren't even the heavily armed officers. The White House is fortified in a different way, so yeah, I mean, that's where you might get up in that number until, as according to my source, that this suspect was taken down pretty quickly. And again, as I say, there are other police forces in that area of Washington, D.C. The Metro Transit Police, Washington, D.C. Police, Capitol Police are not very far, George Washington University Police. You might have, if it's something that's just off the White House grounds, a convergent Park Police, National Park Service is not very far. The National Mall, you might have a lot of people jumping into this depending on what the request might be or what officers see and hear.
And Chad, this also, for me, harkens back to, again, not too long ago when we had somebody show up at Mar-a-Lago, perhaps in a similar fashion to this. You mentioned the security presence and posture around the White House. One would expect it would be one of the most secure areas in the world, certainly in the country. So if somebody was in the vicinity and they're just shooting off, they had to have understood that they weren't going to get that close to the White House. I mean, for someone to do that and just shoot in the general direction, they had to have known that there would be a response pretty quickly. This couldn't have been somebody who thought they were getting the element of surprise here. It doesn't sound like someone very strategic.
Exactly. So like I said, it's just stupid, man. And like I said, this stuff just has to freaking stop. It just has to stop. Footage released of people running inside and Secret Service coming out armed on the hunt for an active shooter. Thankfully, President Trump is inside, fully encased by bulletproof windows and security. The Secret Service hustled Prince inside. Authorities are investigating reportedly at 17th and H Street, NW.
A little bit blurry, but as you can see, these are various people, I assume news agencies, reporters, producers that are essentially running after hearing those gunfire. Shortly after that, you see various Secret Service agents storm and push people out to safety. Chris, give us a sense of what that moment was like, hearing that possible gunfire and then moving towards the direction that Secret Service was pushing you towards.
Right. So, Alex, as soon as you heard the gunshots, everyone kind of just froze. Like, wait a minute, are those gunshots? And then immediately we just ran for it, and the Secret Service simultaneously cleared everybody. And because it's Saturday night, it's not as busy as it would be on a weekday here with all the network reporters and photographers. So it wasn't as busy. Maybe there's 24 of us right now in the press briefing room.
Wow. Here we go. Another little angle right here say press have been released from White House lockdown after an active shooter was reported. FBI is on scene supporting Secret Service. This will indicate the threat is no longer imminent to the grounds.
White House press briefing room. That's obviously a good sign, right, Jeffrey?
That would be a good sign. That means that the initial threat that they believed is either incapacitated or no longer present, or has been detained.
Yeah, so obviously we're still waiting to hear exactly what happened from White House officials. Obviously, our correspondent on the ground said he had heard what sounded like at least 30 gunshots. Again, not confirmed from any sort of official sourcing today whether or not it was actually gunfire. But we have Senator James Lankford weighing in, praying for the president's safety as he waits to hear more about what happened. Our News Nation national correspondent and White House correspondent Kelly Meyer just into our newsroom. FBI is on scene and supporting Secret Service, responding to shots fired near White House grounds. We will update the public as we're able to. So there is our first official White House press briefing.
So right now, I don't think President Trump haven't said anything yet. I will keep y'all up to date, if he come out and say anything. But it's a footage release showing the exact moment shots broke out at the White House. Law enforcement immediately storming the scene and locking the place down. Press have since been allowed out of the White House building itself, indicating the threat has been deemed no longer an active danger to the grounds. So you can see at this point where police was pretty much rushing towards the White House. So you can see them, they're pretty much rushing towards the White House to try to hurry up and get over there. And let's check this one out right here.
Apparently was directed toward the White House. If you get toward the west side of the White House, and we're trying to figure out precisely where this was, you have the old executive office building now called the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, which is kind of a big complex if you're working from west to east toward the White House. So we know that he was firing in the direction of the White House, and this is the preliminary report from someone who's very senior and would have direct knowledge of this information. again, a lot of people in town. There was one source that had, questioned me earlier, even before we had this information. There's a lot of motorcyclists in town for the Memorial Day events. They always come for this time, and people thought it might have been, motorcycles backfiring or something like that. There's quite a cacophony of that. But this is clearly someone who came up and was firing at the direction of the White House. And the president, of course, is at the White House today.
Hey, Chad, Kevin here.
See, that's the thing. Like, President Trump is at the White House, and all of a sudden they just shooting towards the White House.
If I could just get you to break down
prayers
again,
for President Trump, man. Prayers for President Trump.
Heard. This person was taken down. Does that mean they have been neutralized, or do you think they were they sort of made physical contact with this person? I'm just trying to get some clarity there.
I was told that they were shot because the Secret Service returned fire against this individual.
Gotcha. And have you heard from any cabinet secretaries or any other high-level officials about what's happening?
Yeah. This is all we've got right now. It's Memorial Day weekend. People are spread to the four winds, and the reason I, always jump in on this is that, when I used to cover local government, and the best stories about the county sheriff's department would come out through the county commissioners and vice versa. So when you cover Congress and something's happening in the administration, apparently.
Wow. It say just then the shooter did not breach the White House perimeter, got a few shots out, then the Secret Service unleashed fury to take them down. That will mean the rapid succession of shots where authorities springing into action. And like I said, though, man, luckily, like I said, I'm glad they did get them. I'm just so sick of this. I don't even like making these type of videos. We shouldn't even be having to make these type of videos of these people doing stupid stuff like this. Just crazy.
Gunfire near the White House. And I jumped in here because sometimes, when there's a threat at the White House or the executive branch, maybe there's something going on at the Capitol. So I started to dial in with sources there. We're told that this was on the west side of the White House grounds,